In the summer of 1999, the quiet town of Willow Creek woke up to a nightmare that would never fade. A 12-year-old girl, bright, gentle, and full of dreams, vanished from her bedroom in the middle of the night. No broken windows, no forced entry, just silence. And for 20 long years, her family never stopped searching, until one discovery, buried beneath dust and time, changed everything. This is the story of Emily Carter, the girl who disappeared, and the diary that refused to stay hidden. Hit like, subscribe, and stay with us as we delve into this haunting crime story. It was July 16th, 1999, a humid Friday night. Fireflies danced over the Carters' backyard as Emily wrote in her diary, the same one she never let out of her sight. Mom says I should be asleep, but I want to finish my story. It's about a girl who finds her best friend again after she's been gone a long time. Her mother, Laura Carter, kissed her goodnight around 9:30 p.m. By 7 the next morning, Emily's bed was empty. Her diary was gone. The window was slightly open, and her pink flashlight lay on the grass below. Police called it a possible abduction. The town called it a mystery. And her mother called it the day her world stopped. The search was relentless. Volunteers combed every field and creek for weeks. Helicopters hovered. Flyers covered every lamppost. But no sign of Emily. Then, a chilling discovery. A single shoe found near Miller's Creek, 3 miles from her home. Investigators hoped it was a breakthrough they needed. It wasn't. DNA testing was inconclusive. And soon, the town's hope faded, replaced by whispers. Maybe she ran away. Maybe it was someone she knew. Maybe she never left at all. By 2001, the case went cold. The detectives moved on. But Laura didn't. Every Christmas, she kept Emily's room untouched, posters, stuffed animals, and a calendar still frozen on July 1999. Across the street lived Mr. Harold Finch, a retired teacher. Quiet, helpful, known for fixing things in his garage late at night. He'd lived there long before the Carters moved in. He brought over cookies after the disappearance, attended every vigil, cried when the case was declared inactive, but the neighbors would later say something strange. He always seemed to know when the search parties were heading near his property, and always volunteered to lead them the other way. Back then, no one questioned the kind old man who taught Sunday school. No one except one boy. Ethan Miller, 13 at the time, remembered something he never told anyone. That night, while walking his dog, he saw a truck, old blue, with a tarp-covered bed, parked near the Carter home. And behind the wheel was Mr. Finch. Ethan told himself he imagined it. He was just a kid. But 20 years later, he'd wish he hadn't stayed silent. October 2019. Willow Creek had changed. New roads, new stores, but the old Carter house still stood, weathered but alive. Laura still lived there, though her hair had turned gray, her voice quieter. She'd never left, hoping Emily would somehow find her way home. Then one autumn morning, a group of renovation workers began restoring an abandoned barn on the outskirts of town, about 4 miles from where Emily disappeared. While clearing debris, one of them found a rusted metal box, tucked behind a loose wooden plank. Inside were pages of an old diary, bound by a pink ribbon. The first page read, "My name is Emily Carter. If someone finds this, please tell my mom I didn't run away." Forensic teams confirmed the handwriting. It was Emily's. Every word bled with innocence and fear. She wrote about a man who visited her family often, someone who told her stories and brought her candy when her parents weren't home. He said he had a secret place to show her, a barn full of kittens. She wanted to tell her mom, but he made her promise to keep it their little secret. Her final entry was dated July 15th, 1999, 11:42 p.m. He said, "He's coming tonight. I'm scared now. I want to tell Mom, but he'll be angry. He said I won't come back if I tell." That was the last thing she ever wrote. In the bottom corner of one torn page, written faintly in pencil, was a single name, Mr. F. Detectives reopened the case immediately. The Carter family name was all over local news again. Neighbors recalled the one man who matched that initial, Harold Finch. But there was one problem. Mr. Finch had died in 2012. He was buried in Willow Creek Cemetery, a short walk from where the diary was found. The discovery sent shockwaves through the town. Who hid the diary in his barn? And why, after 20 years, had it finally surfaced? While reviewing the crime scene photos, an investigator noticed something disturbing. The metal box containing Emily's diary was not old. It wasn't rusted from the inside. It had been placed there recently. That meant someone had kept the diary all these years and decided, for reasons unknown, to reveal it now. But who? Weeks after the diary's discovery, Laura Carter received a letter. No return address. No signature. Just a short, handwritten note. You were right not to give up on her. The truth was always closer than you thought. And at the bottom, a smudged fingerprint. Detectives tested it. It belonged to Ethan Miller, the boy who saw the blue truck that night. But when police arrived at his home for questioning, Ethan was gone. His car was still in the driveway. His front door left slightly open. And on his kitchen table, there lay a brand new notebook, with a first line written neatly across the top. She wasn't the only one. Detective Sarah Langford, the same investigator who reopened Emily's case, stood inside Ethan's small house the next morning. Nothing was out of place, except the eerie quiet. His coffee cup was still warm, his phone still charging. But Ethan was gone, and that notebook on the table, brand new, clean pages, had something else written on the back cover. The barn wasn't his idea. Langford knew what that meant. Harold Finch, the neighbor long suspected of Emily's disappearance, might not have acted alone. But who was the second person? Police traced Ethan's last phone calls. The night before he vanished, he had spoken with Laura Carter, Emily's mother, for nearly 40 minutes. Neighbors confirmed they saw her sitting on her porch that night, holding the same old photo of Emily she carried everywhere. When detectives asked what the conversation was about, Laura hesitated. He said he remembered something he should have told me years ago. He wanted to meet, said he'd found something in his attic. But Ethan never made it to that meeting. Ethan's home was searched top to bottom. In his attic, police found a cardboard box sealed with duct tape. Inside, newspaper clippings, printed maps, and copies of missing person flyers, all from 1999. But buried at the bottom was something no one expected, a photograph. It showed young Emily Carter standing beside a tall man, not Finch, but another familiar face, one that sent chills through Detective Langford's spine. It was her own father, retired Sheriff Tom Langford, who had led the original 1999 investigation, and he'd never mentioned knowing Emily personally. Langford confronted her father that night. The old sheriff, now frail and soft-spoken, sat at his recliner, a framed badge beside him. At first, he denied everything, but when she showed him the photo, he went pale. I tried to protect her, Sarah. You don't understand what that man was capable of. Harold Finch? She asked. He nodded slowly, but then added, almost whispering, there was someone else, too, someone we never caught. Before she could press further, he leaned back, clutching his chest, and moments later collapsed. Tom Langford died that night before revealing the truth. His last words echoed through Sarah's mind. Someone else. Days later, Sarah revisited the old case files her father had kept locked away in his basement. Among them, a series of reports from neighboring towns, unsolved missing girls from 1995 to 1999, all within a 30-mile radius. Each girl had something in common. Same age range as Emily, last seen near farms or barns. No signs of struggle, and each case had been quietly dismissed by Sheriff Tom Langford. Was he covering something up or protecting someone? Determined to find answers, Sarah revisited the old barn where Emily's diary was discovered. The autumn wind howled through broken boards. Dust floated in the sunlight. This time, forensic teams dug deeper, beneath the floorboards where the soil was unusually soft. They uncovered a small wooden crate, wrapped in plastic. Inside, personal items, ribbons, lockets, and old hair ties, each tagged with different initials. It wasn't just Emily. There had been others. And whoever left that diary wanted someone to find this. That night, A knock echoed through the Carter home. Laura opened the door to find a woman in her late 30s. Pale, trembling, eyes filled with memories she tried to forget. Her name was Rachel Holt. She'd grown up in Willow Creek, but left after her best friend disappeared in 1998. That friend's name was Sophie Reed, one of the girls in the sheriff's old files. Rachel told Laura and Sarah something that would change everything. Harold Finch wasn't the one who took Sophie. I saw her get into a police car that night. It was someone she trusted. A police car. In 1998, only one officer lived in Willow Creek, Sheriff Tom Langford. Later, Sarah re-examined Emily's diary, the one found in the barn. Under ultraviolet light, investigators noticed faint writing between 2 pages. Invisible ink. When revealed, it read, "He said Mr. Finch helps him watch us, but he's not the one who comes inside." Sarah froze. Emily hadn't been taken by Finch. He was just a decoy, a helper. The real abductor had been someone in uniform, someone the town trusted, someone her own father had tried to protect or conceal. 2 weeks later, during a property inventory of Sheriff Langford's estate, Sarah found an old cassette tape hidden in a desk drawer. The label read simply, July 1999, Evidence. On the tape was a recording of a distressed male voice, Harold Finch. "Tom, she's asking for her mom. I told you this would go too far. You said it was just a scare. You said she'd go home." And then a second voice, calm, commanding, unmistakably her father's, replied, "There's no going back now." She saw my face. The revelation shattered Sarah. Her father, once the town's hero, had been the architect of its darkest secret. Finch had followed his orders. And when Finch grew old and weak, someone else, perhaps Finch's family, had planted the diary years later to finally expose what happened. But Ethan had discovered the tape before she did, and someone silenced him before he could speak. 2 nights later, the old barn mysteriously caught fire. By the time firefighters arrived, it was gone, along with the physical diary and every trace of evidence buried beneath. But as smoke filled the sky, something glimmered in the ashes, a half-melted piece of metal. It was a police badge. Number 047. Sheriff Tom Langford badge. How it ended up there, no one knew. For 20 years, the town of Willow Creek believed the monster lived across the street. They never thought he wore a badge. Emily's voice, hidden in her diary, became the only truth that couldn't burn. And though justice came too late for her, her words exposed what silence tried to bury. The diary was lost forever, but one last message, recovered from Ethan's phone, still remained. It was a voice memo recorded hours before he vanished. "If something happens to me, tell her to check the well behind the Carter house." And so the story doesn't end here, because in Willow Creek, the past is never really buried. To this day, what lies beneath that well remains undiscovered. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell to not miss out on any of our content. And we'll see you next time on the Crime Scene Stories.